my transition was very critical because I knew after college, I couldn't go back home to the same one-bedroom apartment that I lived in growing up when I came to the United States, right? And so for me, every decision that I made was very intentional from the beginning. However, what I did not know as a first-generation college student was planning for after graduation.
So let's get into the podcast.
Right.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, this is about you, man.
Okay.
We're gonna let you say your quote, and you're gonna unpack it.
Okay.
But you gotta let it
All right.
flow. Like ain't no stopping. Like once we stop, it's only editing.
What's going on, everybody? It's Coach Dom.
It's Coach Ed.
And welcome back to a Players in Transition podcast, where we aim to help you athletes with your transition in and out of sports. Today's episode, we got the one and only Shaka Zulu in the building, aka Coach Sadiq. What's up, bro?
Nothing much, man. Dom, Ed, man, I appreciate you all for this opportunity to be on the team, but also to share my transition story. I really appreciate this opportunity, and thank you.
Oh, yeah, we ain't tell everybody. For those of you that don't know and have been rocking with Players in Transition, we just added, Brother Sadiq to the team. He is now part of the pit crew. Give it up for Sadiq. Glad to have this brother with us. When he first got to the school, to Wagner, I knew he was unique based off of how he introduced himself. And he introduced himself with a smile, and all you saw was his bottom teeth. I was like, that's the first time I see somebody smile with their bottom teeth. Something's real about him. He eat people. and when he got on the field, he ate people, man. He was a great athlete, but also a great teammate and a great leader. So, Sadiq, we are glad to have your expertise with the pit crew, man.
Yeah, much appreciated. Yeah, man. So I'm really happy to be part of this team, man. I can't tell you how excited I am. Just the opportunity to help young athletes with their own transition into real life. I think that's an important work. And again, I've said thank you already, but I want to emphasize it again to say I appreciate the opportunity.
My brother, you're very
all about
nice.
All about positive role models, man. You definitely are one for the kids. Dom, you got a quote for Sadiq?
Well, since Sadiq is a part of the pit crew, so as you all know, with the Players in Transition podcast, we always start the show off with a quote. All right, and with that quote, we make sure that we tailor it around the guest. And today, since he's a part of the pit crew, he has a quote for himself. And he's going to introduce the quote and unpack it himself. So, Sadiq, Coach Sadiq, let us know what that quote is and unpack that thing.
Yeah, this quote is from Friedrich Nietzsche, and he says, "No one can build you." What was that?
Say that again. What's his name?
Friedrich Nietzsche.
Okay.
And essentially, his quote is basically, "No one can build you the bridge on which and only you must cross the river of life." I chose this quote specifically from Nietzsche, his meditation on how to find yourself, because of my own transition story from being a student athlete to a grown man. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When I think of this quote, I think about the human experience and how sometimes we may feel frustrated with who we are when we get on IG and see people living their best life. We yearn to be better than we are, but sometimes we are unable to articulate what that means and looks like. When we feel this way, Nietzsche invites us to get interested in what's going on when we feel dissatisfied with ourselves. He wants us to get to know this dissatisfaction, take it seriously, do something about it, right? In doing something about this dissatisfaction, the things we long to do and accomplish, the kind of person we might hope to become, are in fact within reach. but the path to each of those goals have this difficulty attached to it. It is a path that involves suffering, annoyance with oneself, disappointments, frustration, and sometimes even envy. However, through such pain that good things emerge. They do not occur as a matter of spontaneous luck. Looking from an outsider's perspective, when we see somebody who's successful, oftentimes what we see are the effects, but we do not usually get the chance to closely observe the fears and the insecurities. Such insight, however, is strangely heartening. It helps us see that suffering is not a sign of failing to be the best version of oneself, but a necessary part of the process of becoming who we want to and should be. So with that, no one can build you the bridge on which you and only you must cross the river of life.
Hey man, you got me wanting to snap my fingers over here,
let's
bro.
get snaps.
Right on, man.
I was thinking it.
That was deep, man. That was deep,
the
yo.
Man coming here with a kufi on, dropping bombs off rip.
Yo, you see all
ain't even 5 minutes in yet. This man dropped the Unabomber. That's what's up, Sadiq. Nah, for real, that's deep. That's real, because a lot of people do that on social media, man. It's a lot of capping on. I know we all got hats on, but for real, no funny. It's a lot of fake people on social media, man. They'll show you. I mean, as we had a conversation before, that they're working out or that they're having a great time. It's like, yeah, and when's the last time you ate in the past 3 weeks? Oh, because you saved all your money up for that vacation? Or, oh, you really working out? Or you doing the Gronkowski, taking pictures in 3 different uniforms and then sending different pics every day?
Right.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people ain't going to come out like Gronk and admit that.
Well, Instagram is your highlight. So, although there's multiple angles that we could talk about this, I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Yes.
Right? I feel like Instagram or social media is a way to reinvent yourself and to make yourself look how you want to be, right? You can become whoever you want to become. And Instagram has helped me transition from being a ladies' man to being a loving, daring husband and father, But the more I post my wife and the more I post my, my kids, I'm like, that is who I really am.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And now it's like, I don't want to be a hypocrite. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to show this and then be something, show this in public and be something totally different in private.
Yeah.
Right. But I do understand exactly what you guys are saying, like, because I've had that point in my life. But Sadiq, I want you to kind of elaborate on a time where you felt that, right? Especially coming out of football. First of all, you didn't mention that you played football, but I guess everybody could understand that. But kind of
transition story yet, though.
Yeah. First, talk us through your transition, and then kind of touch base on that social media aspect of seeing certain people in a certain light, and it kind of affecting you personally.
Yeah. So my transition story was very intense because there was very limited opportunities for me to make mistakes or any kind of errors. So I needed to be strategic in terms of thinking about where I am right now and where I want to be. Right. So after, I played football with Dom and Ed, I was a strong safety at Wagner College, part of the championship team in 2012, probably some of the best times of my life. As a young student athlete, I dedicated my time to the sports that I was playing. So football was the only thing that mattered to me. And then second was my academics, right? I come from a home where both my parents, my mother received briefly secondary education, and my dad's education had ended in high school. My dad cannot read or write. And so for me, my transition was very critical because I knew after college, I couldn't go back home to the same 1-bedroom apartment that I lived in growing up when I came to the United States, right? And so for me, every decision that I made was very intentional from the beginning. However, what I did not know as a first-generation college student was planning for after graduation. So after my brief encounter with the NFL and the CFL, I had multiple tryouts, but didn't make any team. So I returned home to my 1-bedroom apartment with a degree and no job prospects. So as you can imagine, how disappointed my immigrant father was. You know, growing up, my father, I used to deliver newspaper with my dad, and the beautiful parts of Manhattan. And my father will always say, I'm suffering today so that you can be able to go to college and do better than I am. So at this time, after I graduated, it was difficult because, dealing with the pressure and the expectation of your father saying that I want you to do better. And by better, what it means is make more money than I am so that you can support the family. With that, it was intense. So after I graduated, I started, as I was home, I started looking for jobs. I started applying, but my resume wasn't really good because it just was not good.
Because all you did was play football.
All I did was play football. And so my resume was not very good. I didn't have, job experiences to go along with the academic experience that I just had on campus.
Yeah.
So, like a lot of jobs didn't call me back. The jobs that I were applying to weren't calling me back. But I was fortunate that the Harlem Village Academy High School in Harlem, invited me to serve as the after-school program counselor. It was during this time that I actually found my passion and love for education. I've always knew the power of education, from just growing up. It has the potential to change just about anybody. And so during this time, it was this time that I decided to apply to a few graduate programs for education. I got accepted into Fordham and Wagner. I chose Wagner because they offered me a graduate assistant position in the disability service office, which was pretty much my jump start to my current career in higher education.
Real quick, that's a deep story. But I kind of felt the emotions in what you were saying, and I want you to kind of talk about how you felt in that moment of uncertainty, right? When you had those tryouts to the NFL and the CFL, but going back home to that 1-bedroom apartment that your father told you, yo, I'm working hard for you to have more than this. Walk us through those emotions, because I know there's an athlete that's going to see this that needs to hear that. That needs to hear, like, okay, you probably felt depressed or whatever it is that you felt, but you made it out of it. Talk to us about that moment, bro.
Yeah, so I'll take it from after graduation. After graduation, it was the time that I found out that I had the tryout with then the St. Louis Rams. And so there was so much excitement going on. And it was just a tryout. I didn't even make the team. But I mean, I couldn't tell you, my social media was flooded with people just saying, and I didn't post anything on social media. When I found out that I was invited to the training camp. But for some reason, people who found out started posting on my timeline, and people just picked up on it. I got so many phone calls of congratulations. Oh, we can't wait to see you on TV. And I'm like, I didn't even make the team yet.
That's pressure.
Right? Yeah, I didn't even make the team yet. So long story short, I had to try out probably, you know, now if you think about the NFL, this is the creme de la creme, the best of the best from colleges around the country. These are the best athletes in their specific positions. So when I got there, I think, you know, it was sort of like a cultural shock, but at the same time, I felt like, you know, I paid my dues in order to be here.
Right.
Unfortunately, I started playing football when at the 11th grade.
Dang.
I didn't know anything about football.
I gotta stop you there, bro, because that's deep. Like,
right.
You didn't start playing football until you was about 16 years old, and still made it to a Division I AA school where you won a championship and had a tryout with the St. Louis Rams. That is phenomenal, bro.
But hold on, though. You gotta tell them about the stop in between, Sadiq, and my fault for injecting this portion of the story. Right. But I think to what Dom's saying, more to your perseverance, but also to let that other person know that, yeah, even though you may have a different road, you can get through. Where'd you go before Wagner?
Man, I came from Hudson Valley Community College in Troy, Albany, New York. But that's a whole different struggle. And I can share for the JUCO life is not for everybody. You know, a lot of dreams are ended once you get to JUCO. Because JUCO is not like a 4-year college. One, you got to find your own housing. You have to find your own housing. And two, you got to feed yourself. Right? And so, you know, it's, if you've ever seen like what is it called? The Last Chance U? Yeah. That's pretty much what JUCO is, with lots of fights. You know what I mean?
Survival.
You know, literally.
Survival. It's dog eat dog, pretty much. It's rough. It is rough. But you know, one of my goals when I went to Hudson Valley Community College was to get out of there as fast as possible. So I was able to graduate academically at a 3.6 GPA, and also graduate in a year and a half. It often takes students like about 2 years to complete the junior college experience, but I was able to get it done in a year and a half with the hopes of getting to a 4-year Division I program.
And I wanted you to share that, not because like, oh, he ain't make it straight. I just want people to know, like, yeah, you can play at starting at 11th grade year, but know that this man ain't had no cakewalk. The man you seen in front of you has worked very hard to get where he is, and he's very resilient. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that the person listening to this not, you equally can be, but I don't want you thinking, oh, I'm just gonna start playing 11th grade and go try out for the Rams. Dead. You're gonna put in a lot of work. Just being honest, a lot of work.
Right.
Yeah, man. Your transition is unique, and it's very insightful. And what I mean by that, and I hope I'm using the right word, but I feel like it's a story of a rose that grew from concrete. Yeah, it's one of those rare, you know, accomplishments. But you see it, you're starting to see it a lot more often. So I myself went,
See what? Just to clarify,
you're starting to see that athlete transition from junior college, and you're starting to see it more often. I know when I was in high school, I didn't see it. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't really hear nothing about a junior college until, you know, it was introduced to me at an all-star game. At that point, I'm like, why would I go to junior college? That's stupid. You know what I'm saying? I would just go to Division III. Like, me not knowing or hearing about it, I just thought it was a dumb idea for me to go to a 2-year institution. But it's actually a great opportunity to grow. And Sadiq took advantage of that, man.
In hindsight, I wish I would have went to a PG school. In high school, my coach told me straight up, I think he'll do better off taking one more year of high school, send him to a couple of schools in the area. I ain't gonna drop names. But my parents were like, nah, he going to school. I talked to both of them recently, unanimous. We agreed. I could have definitely done much better in that extra year. It's an extra year of maturity, extra year of ball, extra year of academics, extra year of finding yourself, right? So there's a lot of pros that can come out that scenario, and just like anything else, it depends on the person going in.
Yeah, man. So Sadiq, bro, you kind of walked us a little bit through that the emotional side of that transition. Kind of let's go back to it, man. Talk to us about that. After the NFL
So,
shot you down.
yeah. When I think about that experience, I think about, Langston Hughes, what happens to a dream deferred, right? So, my dreams were deferred, but what happened next was probably some of the best times in my life. So after I applied to graduate school, got accepted into the education program at Wagner, and got an opportunity to work as a graduate assistant, I was able to find my passion and my current career path, right? And so, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy path. I think I go back to the quote that I talked about. It was involved, there was a lot of suffering too, right? So at this point, I was on my own. I was living with I lived on campus first semester, then I moved off campus. I was living with, Pat O'Connor. We played, Pat O'Connor was the free safety, I was a strong safety. So we lived together about 2 years after we graduated. So while I was in graduate school as a graduate assistant, I also had a job, working with individuals with special needs. I was an advocate. So it like those experiences kind of shaped who I am, the current identity that I have right now. When I was in college, I was just a student athlete. That was my dominant and salient identity. So I didn't think about all the other identities that I had. But after I graduated and transitioned, I started thinking about those identities, right? And so I see myself as a community servant.
Right.
Like I like that's an identity that I love to have, you know. Another identity that I'm currently, working on right now is becoming an inner city youth education advocate, right? And so that's a lot of research and, learning about the experiences of Black and brown kids going through high school and how we can improve those experiences for those students. So,
deep brother.
Yeah, Sadiq. I mean, you said it took you till after, right? But someone like me who observed you from no homo, observed you from the outside while we was on the same team together, you did a lot of like service while you were on campus. You were always at the hospital drive when we did that. When you made that one decision that y'all both made, that little, you got the right colors on right now. That's all I'm gonna say. But when you made that decision, you did a lot of community service there, and I always saw you helping out around campus. You see what I'm saying? So I think that was you. I think more so, and again, this is just me from the outside looking in. I think you were blinded by your student athlete, but like you said, you were finding yourself because I feel like that was there all along.
Right.
Just me. I don't know if you saw the same thing in them, Don, but I saw Sadiq. That's kind of what drew me to you.
It's almost
kind of the same in that.
It's almost like our purpose. If you ever read The Alchemist, basically he's going to try to find treasure, his legend, his personal legend, right? And his personal legend is his purpose, right? And that's what it sounds like Sadiq had. His purpose was always in him, but it took for him to experience what he experienced after not making it to the NFL and having himself back into that 1-bedroom apartment. It's like something sparked in you that helped you find your purpose. And talk us through that part. Like, what helped you find your purpose? Was it the fact that football was now over, or was it like a key moment that really helped you discover, like, this is what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah. I mean, I like I said, it was, being a after school program counselor at the Harlem Village Academy High School. Man, it was just the encounter with those students, seeing myself in those students. And I think part of some of the things that really, really helped me become who I am today is, recognizing that I have a part I can play a big role in really changing the narrative about the educational experiences Black students specifically in high school. And so like interacting with those students, seeing myself in those students, and just looking at their developmental stage and looking at where I was like at the time when I was at their age. And I was just trying to like figure out, how do I best support you so that you don't make the same mistakes that I made, right? So for me, and this is another story, in high school, I was actually in the honors program, right? I was in the honors program the first 2 years. But being smart was not cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Being smart never got you the girls.
Right.
And so, you know, I went to different path, but then I came back when I started playing football because I needed those grades in order to be able to play. So, you know, but I go back to the story of how some of the lessons and things that have helped me become who I am. I also had great mentors. So when I started working in at Wagner as a graduate assistant, Dean Curtis Wright became like, he was the only Black man on campus at the time. So like, and I was the graduate assistant. And so we just connected right away. And I got the opportunity to travel to Haiti with Curtis in 2014. Mind you, this is the first time of me leaving the country, leaving America. So when I came to America, so this was like 14 years later, opportunity to go to Haiti. And that changed my life, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. That really opened my eyes to like what it is that I want to do. I've always said that I wanted to travel, but you know, travel and engaging deeply with communities is something that really helped me become who I am, because it showed me that I'm somebody who likes to be in the helping field.
Right.
And being in the helping field, you don't make money. Martin Luther King died broke. Um, Malcolm X also died broke, but their impact on communities is forever lasting. Every kid, every child in America will always remember those names.
They died broke, but they always had a clean suit. No funny. They
It's
always
true.
was fed.
That
They
is true.
daughters ain't go without. I mean, I know it's funny, and I know I'm a funny dude, but like real talk. So like, it's really that thing of if you move within your conviction and in your purpose, everything else will be taken care of.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's my whole point right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Right.
That's great insight. Because we always talk about how do we find our purpose, and when I say we, I'm talking about people in general, right? The athlete specifically can relate to the fact that when sports is over, we lose our identity. It's almost like we don't know who we are anymore, right? But our purpose has been within us the entire time we've been playing that sport without us even knowing. Like Sadiq, you've been helping people your entire life. So basically, you know, what I was saying, Sadiq, it's like your story, you've always had your purpose within you, right? But so often with athletes, we lose ourselves when sports is over. I found myself in that spot, like, you know, that dark spot when football was over, because I played football since I was 6 years old. You know what I'm saying? And then to finally have to give it all up at 28, it's like, what do I do now? I don't know what to do. I don't know what my purpose is. But if you replay your life and look at some of the things that you did naturally and what you love to do and what came so easy to you, you've always been helping people, right or wrong.
Yeah, that's always been something that I've always done. People don't, you know, in 2012, I think it was Hurricane Sandy, swept across the East Coast, and impacted Staten Island deeply. One of the things people don't recognize, you know, remember New York Times wrote an article about Wagner football team going down the hill to volunteer and those and support people in the community and those sort of things. one of the things we didn't make it, the people who actually started doing that did make it in the New York Times. Mm-hmm. Pat O'Connor and I actually went down there first to see like the impact of the hurricane. And to me, that's something that feeds my soul, like giving back. Giving back, we're not necessarily expecting anything back. And for me, that feeds my soul. So I share that story to say that it's always been something that I've been involved in and interested in. But after sports, you talk about this existential crisis of like losing yourself and rediscovering who you are and asking the question, who am I? It really is an opportunity to dig down and rediscover who you are, because you're no longer an athlete anymore. You're now just a regular person. And so you got to think about all of these things and your own branding and who you are and those sort of things. So that shaped, it's important. It's important to really figure out what it is that feeds your soul throughout that process.
Right.
And that process isn't overnight either. Some of us have been playing sports for years, but you think all the time you put in, even if you just play for 3 years, it's going to take you at least 3 years to get back out. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying you're going to still be downtrodden. You still may make a lot of money, success, all that stuff. To really find you, to get what we're talking about in your purpose, and hell, you might not find it till 10, 15 years after that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But the key is to get there one day.
And the process is not, like you said, it's not straightforward. It takes but sometimes you have to, it's there. Mm-hmm. You just have to accept it. Mm-hmm. You just have to accept it.
Right. It's as simple as, the Nike slogan, man. And that's how I'm learning how simple life can be if we just do it. Right.
Right.
Instead of contemplating, instead of thinking and outthinking yourself, and the fear is going to be there. The doubt is going to be there because that's what our mind tells us. That's how our mind protects us from things. Mm-hmm. Right. Just do it. You'll realize how great it can be for you. Right. Because, it sounds like you've always been in the mindset of helping people. Right. But it wasn't until you went and did that after school program where you really found like, this is my purpose. And then going to Haiti, you had another key moment where it's like, this is for sure my purpose. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no question, this is my purpose. And it was you taking the steps to do the things that you needed to do. Right. When we coming up out of that dark place, and especially after sports, it's like, well, what do I do now? Because all I know is sports. Right. All I know is, you know what I'm saying? That was my mindset. So it was like, well, what did I do well as an athlete? I was a captain every year. I was a leader, and I always like motivating people. I would pull people to the side and have conversations with them. And people, teammates, having conversations with them just to motivate them to be better players and to have the confidence that I had when I stepped on the field. So that's what led me to say, well, you know what? Let me do that and be a motivational speaker. Let me do that and create a podcast. Let me do that and create a platform to where I can really help athletes. So I discovered my purpose in rewinding my life and looking at those little stories of things that I've always done, right? And I use you as an example, Sadiq. It's like, you've been helping people in high school. I've watched you give so much insight and advice and truly try to have a genuine heart with helping people when we work together at, Lifestyles for the Disabled.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Like me, you and Kenny, when we all work together,
the chicken Caesar salad. Woo!
Ooh, man. Ooh. Chicken Caesar salads used to be hitting.
Yeah.
But I'm saying all this, and I want to give you your flowers while you're still living, is because I really witnessed your pureness, like your heart is really truthfully in the right place. And that Haiti trip was a gift, from the man above,
Right.
from the universe, because that's the energy that you put out there.
Right.
And that's dope. That's dope, man.
It's crazy you mentioned that, Don, because it's a slogan we hear in all sports. Now, I mean, you as the running back definitely heard this, but whether you play basketball, football, baseball, lacrosse, hockey, you name it, even track, you hear this one phrase: "Take what they give you."
Take what they give.
A lot of times people try to get hooked up. Oh man, I really like music or whatever, and you really just stay stuck in that rut. Sometimes it takes taking that opportunity. For you, it was an after-school specialist. You see what I'm saying? And now that led you to a situation where you were able to figure some things out and then ultimately get into education. You see what I'm saying? For me, it was I had to bag some groceries at first for tips. And then after that, I worked at a law firm, even though I hated it. And then even after that, I worked as a teacher. Like, I did a lot of stuff. Sometimes you got to do what you have to do to make ends meet, but while the whole time you working on yourself.
Right. That is the key, yo. That is the key. And I really want you to touch upon this, Sadiq. What Ed is saying is that you have to try stuff. You're gonna have to
fail.
You're gonna have to try stuff to really find your purpose. Take that journey. It ain't gonna be a straight road. Sometimes it might. Sometimes you might figure it out on the first try. But you're not gonna figure it out if you don't try. Right. Sadiq, I want you to talk to the younger you. Like, what would you tell yourself, prior to discovering your purpose? Like, what would you say to the young Sadiq?
Oh man, that's a good question. I haven't been asked that question in a long time. But I think when you're young, you don't think fat meat is greasy, right? And so essentially, one of the things I will tell myself is be prepared, so that when the opportunity presents itself, you be able to do your very best at everything that you do. When you're young, you always have these aspirations, but you don't know that there is a price attached to all those aspirations. And so how much are you willing to pay for those aspirations? And so for me right now, some of the things I'm learning to do, and I wish my younger self knew, is, paying your dues. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, you have to pay your dues. You have to put
paying your dues. You're not talking about the tangible greenbacks. You're talking about more work in tune and stuff like that.
I'm talking about real work.
Like, I want to clarify, because I don't want to assume everybody knows. Some people are like, I pay my $200 a month. What happened, Coach Sadiq? Like they need to know what pay your dues is.
So I share a quick story, and this is related to my sports story, and it relates to like paying your dues as well. Going into my senior year, I changed positions, right? I went from outside linebacker to strong safety. Mind you, I had a 3.5 GPA, but people didn't think I was smart enough to play the strong safety position. And so I was really eager and knew that I could play the position, but I just needed to pay my dues. So during the summer, after working from Lifestyles for the Disabled, Dom and I will be on the field in a hot burning sand, both of us working on our own like position skills that we needed, agilities and drills that we needed to work on. And I think after doing those things, right, when summer camp came around, nobody could even look at me and say, you can't play that position, because I was 5 steps ahead of everybody else. I was reacting faster to everything than everybody else, mainly because I paid my dues. I studied film over the summer. Coach Hall and I even had a conversation this spring, and he was like, when have you ever taken the time to draw the plays that you actually have to play on the field, that you have to do on the field? I never really thought about that, but once he planted that seed in my head, it was over. I'll be in class drawing the plays, drawing it making sure I know where I got to be, making sure that I know where everybody fits and the gaps that are open, so that if the running back or whoever's carrying the ball decides to take that gap, I'm getting there and I'm blasting them quicker than everybody else. So I share this story to say that whatever it is that you're trying to do, you have to be willing to pay your dues.
Bars.
Know what the dues are too.
Right.
Bars. It's hard work.
Right. Yeah, but not everybody knows the dues. So boom, Don, we'll be transparent. I'll take the veil off. We were up at your crib last year. We had a heart-to-heart conversation, me, you, and L Dub, right? And you remember we sat down and I said I did everything I could, and you said no, I didn't. I didn't miss a lift. I ain't miss a class. I ain't miss jack. But your dues is the extra work. I was the strongest lineman we had. I was arguably the fastest O-lineman we had, and I never touched the field. Why was that? Because I didn't watch the film. Because I ain't do the extra stuff. I literally never looked at my playbook. Sorry, Hoss, you knew it the whole time. It is what it is. I never looked at it. So I never did the work. But you couldn't tell me I wasn't grinding. There was people that had to get their work done for them. There was people that didn't give up their summer for that lift. That didn't lift at all. So you can't tell me I ain't paid my dues. Know what the dues are.
The dues are exactly what Sadiq described.
But not everybody understands that extra work is needed. That's what I'm trying to convey. Right. You're speaking from a standpoint of people who understand that, and just hearing that, paying the dues, they may not know what that is. So I want to make sure that that person that was like me when I was 21 knows what the dues is now. Because for 4 or 5 years, part of my transition, we talking about transition, right? I'm sitting here wondering why I ain't play. Why I ain't play. It wasn't until I was 26, 27 that was like, you never did a lick of work outside of workouts or practice.
So one of the things I want to emphasize is that there's a difference between doing what you're supposed to do and what you have to do in order to be successful, right? So like, everybody know college students have to read. That's fundamental.
Right.
But if you really want to be successful, you got to read more than what the requirements are. You also got to read the primary resources that are attached to these books that you're reading, because that's where the information is coming from, other than just the book. So, you know, it's important to know the difference between doing what you're told to do and doing what you actually have to do in order to be successful. You know?
Right. But you have to know what you have to do, because you don't know what you don't know.
And that's a fact, right? Let's talk about that real quick. When we say pay your dues, right? Of course, your dues are extra funds, right? It's the sweat equity. We all know, right? I live by this phrase: good ain't good enough. All right. If you feel like, you know, you worked hard within the scope of what the coaches presented, that ain't good enough. If it ain't getting you on the field, it ain't good enough. What else can I do to get on the field? By any means, I went into college and I said, by the end of this year, my freshman year, I will be the starting running back, no matter what. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. And whatever it takes is the extra effort, is the grinding. I went into each practice as if it was a game, seriously. And y'all know that. Like, I didn't care. And then after practice, I ran sprints.
Because but you saying that from somebody that knows, Dom. Like I'm saying that like
I'm saying it's the extra effort. It's whatever.
I'm not saying it's not the extra effort, bro. We the same age. I'm just saying that, and merely I'm just letting you know that, like, we gotta let that person know that doesn't know. You knew. That's why you were one of the 1%.
That's what I'm doing. Letting them know. Telling them those paying those dues is the extra effort, whatever it takes. If doing what you're doing within the scope of what coach told you to do is not getting you on the field, do more. That's the dues. That's the real dues. Because, if I know that my car isn't getting me from my house to the store, what are you going to do?
You're gonna get it fixed.
You gotta get
or
to
you can walk.
That's the extra effort. You gotta do whatever it takes. You know what I'm saying?
But sometimes, I get what you're saying, but some people don't know what it takes.
And I was explaining.
And you're telling them right now, right? Yeah.
Okay. And you're telling me that I'm just expressing it from my point of view. And yes, I'm answering the question what those dues are. You said initially you said, what are those dues? You know, we got to tell people what those dues are because you worked hard within the scope of what coaches told you. You was the strongest, you was the fastest, but you didn't put the extra work in. So I came in and said, yo, this is the extra work, whatever it takes. You have a goal in mind. If your goal is to get on the field and what you're doing ain't working, do something else.
Do something else like watch film, run extra laps, eat right, stuff like that. Because whatever it takes, someone could just say, oh, I did an extra lap, coach. That wasn't enough? No.
To get you on the field?
I'm just saying I'm answering that question. Someone said I did extra, coach. I ran a lap.
What I said, they're going to understand. If you don't understand the fact that you have to put in extra work at this point, in your life.
They're only 18. And the reason why I'm saying that, Dom, is because I was that dude. That's what I'm saying. I thought I was putting in extra work. I thought staying the summer was putting in extra work. So that's why I'm trying to convey that not everybody sees it the same. You see it because you knew. There's stuff that I'm sure I could highlight that you've been like, oh, I ain't know that. And that's fine. But everybody got to know the difference.
Here's the truth, though, Ed. And I want to push back a little bit in saying that no one knows you better than you know yourself. You know when you're cheating yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And like, you can go hard. In your mind, you're going hard. But for some people, again, it's a performance, right? And so in the short period that they have to perform for a coach, they will probably go as hard as they can. But the real work is when nobody's watching you and applauding you. That's to me, in my humble opinion, is paying your dues, right? So for me, when Coach Hall said, hey, have you ever thought about, writing down the plays and fitting in the gaps and those kind of things? That was just the seed that he planted. But what I did with it afterwards when he wasn't there was what was critical for me, because that changed my game. I was able to see the entire field and see where the gaps are. So I hope I'm making sense, but but you also know, as a human being, as a man, because America, when you're 18, you're automatically a man. If you're a black man too, the society sees you as a man. You see what I'm saying? So as a man, when you're putting on a performance and when you're actually putting in that blood, sweat, and tears. Because when you're wholeheartedly doing something, you know it.
I feel like at 18, though, it depends on what your rearing was. I hear that at 18 you're a man, but what if you ain't never had to work? You don't know what work look like. Everything been handed to you or done for you. You don't know what work look like. Y'all coming from two individuals that, and I'm not saying I didn't have to work in my background, but y'all clearly had to work a little more. Also, too, only a certain percentage of the world makes it to the professional level. A vast majority of people are actually average, if not worse. So what I'm trying to say is y'all two are coming from a mindset of two people that work very hard. And I'm not saying I don't, but y'all put in the extra work all the time. I'm trying to give it to a way that someone that wasn't always channeled that way for them to get there. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, because you can say that all you want, but if the person is not translating what you're saying, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, I did it. And then they're gonna look and be like, no, I didn't.
I think I hear what you're saying. Some people need it spelled out for them. So
you did. Most definitely. You did. You explained that. Did. No, he been did. When he talked about, people didn't believe that he was able to play safety. So what did you do when people believed that you wasn't able to play safety? You said, when I got out of work, I put the extra work in. I went on the field and did extra footwork and stuff with position drills with Dom. Then you went and talked to Coach Hall about extra things that you can do, and you've discovered something that helps you on the field. So at that point, you had worked when people weren't watching. You put the extra work in, and it got you to a place where you wanted to be.
But the whole point is,
that's
we having a conversation with people. So like some people may not have heard that. So some people need that express. You know what I'm saying? Just like sometimes you come and you rehash over what the person said. I want to make sure that they hear it multiple times.
And that's what I did, but you gave me pushback for doing that.
But son, you giving me pushback the whole time, bro. Like it's in your tone, bro.
I'm answering.
Like it's in your tone, bro.
It's your tone. I'm answering the question.
But I'm responding in the tone that I receive, bro. Like that's what I'm saying. Like the tone is stepping up right now, my dude. Like I'm just letting you know, Slim. I've been even killed, bro, and you know that, Slim. I'm just telling you, and don't look at me sideways, bro. Like I'm telling you what I'm feeling, dude. No, I'm not, bro. I'm not.
Yo, Sadiq, what tone are you? What tone did I come off on?
It wasn't bad. Both of y'all need to go beat y'all meat or do something. I don't know
because no. We're not gonna do that because I ain't come at you or say anything or come at you like that.
Slim, you made it seem like what I was saying was invalid, and that's what you made. And then you were like, you did.
No, that's not it. That wasn't how it was. I was answering the question, and based off of how I answered the question, you felt as if I was saying something wrong to you. No, I wasn't. You can replay this and you can see it. I'm going to send you the recording to show you that I didn't say anything to push back on you or say anything.
You literally said, I'm going to give a little, it was either you or Sadiq, one of y'all both said, I'm going to give a little pushback. That's literally what you said.
He did.
I did. I said I was going to.
Did you not say you're going to give a little pushback, Dom? You said I'm going to play devil's advocate.
I said it to him earlier in the show, not to you. Come on, bro. Like I don't do stuff like that, man. I don't do stuff like that. You know that. Like we've been friends for I don't know how long, and over the podcast and us talking about, working hard, all I was doing was answering the question.
But here's the truth, though. Here's the truth. Y'all need moments of tension when you don't disagree, when you don't agree with each other. People listen to stuff like that because we all don't have to be here shaking each other's head and going, that's a good point. That's a good point. That's part of the conversation. We have to be able to show people that we can disagree, but still the point that we're trying to emphasize is that the stories of transitioning and all those things. Right. So we don't have to agree, but we can work through it.
Of course. His point was you and I were talking one-sided, right? And he was like, yo, y'all need, I think y'all need to express more of what paying dues mean. So I started to express that. I may have gotten a little passion about, you working hard. If you don't know what work hard, extra work means, then this is probably not the field for you. Basically, to cut it into one sentence. That's what was said. But I don't know where along the lines you took as if I was fighting or pushing back against what you were saying. I'm not saying that you was wrong, but I'm responding to what you said. You said, break it down for him, and I broke it down. Well, Sadiq, man. Brothers, that was a good show.
Yeah.
Of course, there's more to go. And Sadiq, we are glad to have you on the team, man.
Sadiq got an extra point.
Of course. I mean, the show ran over, and the extra point probably gonna come from the beginning.
Oh, well, that works then.
Because he dropped some jewels in the beginning, man, and we're gonna use that to the extra point segment. But take us out with a word, bro.
Yeah, man. I would say enthusiasm, right? Walk through life with enthusiasm. Continue to do and learn from all your mistakes, and don't repeat the same mistakes more than twice.
Hey, that's dope. Again, that's another episode of the Players in Transition podcast with your boy, Coach Dom.
Coach Ed.
Coach Sadiq.
Ah, yes.
Peace.
Peace.